Bonjour, and welcome to La Steel Divisonal Overview. Okay, I apologise for the absolutely terrible accent, but today we're going to take a look at the second French Armour Division. The early game aggressive French Armour Division that is good for Russian B bomb sight. As you can guess, they're very powerful in the early game, but they do lose a lot of their steam later on. They are also a French division. Really, it's just an American division with fancy French names and some French voice acting, with a few interesting units here. And yeah, so let's take a look at the economy. We've got, of course, a very high A phase economy of 100 points. B phase, it's only 110, and a lackluster 115 in C, which is the lowest C phase economy of any decking game, I believe. In terms of slots, it's pretty standard. Got a lot of infantry and tank slots and pretty good recon slots as well. And everything else is pretty standard at either 4 or 5 slots. You only got 36 activation points, which is not a lot. You will be lacking in a few areas, but it's enough to fill in the important sectors. So let's take a look into the deck, shall we? Recon is a very important part to the French division, and you got a lot of recon options, and a lot of them, as you can see, well, all of them do have 1-star veterancy or 2-star veterancy. So you got Spire, which are a 4-man squad. You got Group Spire, which are only a 2-man squad, but they do have a Jeep with a machine gun, and you can also get slightly less of them in an M20 if you want some extra fire support, and that dude really needs to fix his arms. They're rather standard recon infantry, not too much. Yeah, and you can get Greyhounds. They are the same price as the American ones. I apologise, but you can either get them 1-star ×2 or 2-star with nothing available to them. Very good recon unit. It's fast. You can use this as a flank rail. Good at infantry support because it has a 50 cal machine gun. It is absolutely fantastic. He's one of your bread and butter units for being very aggressive in the A phase. It is very weak. Autocannons can kill them, so just be a bit careful. But if you use them as a good flanky killer, they do a damn good job. B phase, you get some more 4-man groups. You can get them in some M3 scout cars, either 1-star veterancy or if you want 2-star veteran recon infantry, and be my guest. Or you could get a command tank. It is no M84AN, it's just an M3A3 Stuart. It's slightly worse, yeah, an M5 Stuart, but it's still a proper tank for your recon options. I'm not a big fan of using the M3 if you just log. Same gun, you do lose a little bit of infantry fire support. I do prefer the 50 cal compared to 3 M16-16s. You do get a bit of armor, but I think speed alone for the Greyhound is a big game changer. So very nice recon selection. Infantry has quite a bit to talk about because the infantry units alone aren't bad. They're pretty decent. The main issue is that you have very low availability, and even though you got 7 slots worth, it's not going to feel like enough. You're going to be very lackluster in certain departments. So for starts, we got Command Voltigeurs, which are your standard leader units who do have a bazooka, and no other A phase infantry has bazookas, so they're important. You got some brown machine guns, and they're very abundant at ×4. Then you got Voltigeurs, which are lackluster, to say the least. You can only get them in ×3, which for a rather standard infantry unit, 3 Panzer, only a 15-man point squad. It's just a 50 or the regular half-track. Puts them up in price, and most stuff in this deck does come with half-tracks. There's a few exceptions, though. With Voltigeurs, they just have 8 M1 Garand, no machine gun, no crazy close-range fire support weapon, very mediocre. Then you can get only 2 50 cals in A phase. They're much better, I'd say, than the Brownings, just because they have range and better fire support, but you get half the availability. So it really is a bit of a juggling act. You got Pioneers, which are a 6-man flamethrower squad. Pretty standard stuff. They do come with this Jeep, well, it's not technically a Jeep, a vehicle with a 50 cal machine gun if you want a bit of extra fire support. They're good, but once again, you only get them in a pack of 3, and they don't even have veterancy to boot. But what does have veterancy, the raw name changer, is the Nueve. They are a 2-star, the Spanish dudes, essentially. and they do come with a 50 cal half track. And weaponry wise, it's very standard for a rifle squad. One machine gun is an MG34, which is much better than a Bren, and you got Garens and then some few Thompsons. In terms of like weaponry, they're pretty rubbish, to be entirely honest. But it's the style of veterancy that makes them good, very good. Yeah, especially considering that the M5 half track will also benefit from the style of veterancy too. It will provide good fire support. The big downside is you can only get them in packs of 2. So if you want to get 2 Nreve, you only have 5 slots left. So you still have to get command guys. Maybe, you know, that's not enough. You need some regular infantry. Maybe get some vote gears. And you only got 2 slots. You need something to be. And it's not a lot. And you really do lack a lot just in terms of availability. Nreve are a big example of this. They're very good units. They will beat Grenadiers and whatnot in open range engagement, especially if the half track, but you cannot afford to lose them. You have to be very cautious using Nreve. B-phase, you get reinforced with some more 50 cal machine guns and ×3 packs. You then get Sapeurs, which are awesome. They're fun little infantry units. Yeah, Gears 2.0. They got rifles and submachine guns, but they got a bazooka, like an armoured American rifle squad, which gives them great anti-tank capability, and they got satchel charges for close range capabilities, so you can use them as an effective anti-tank squad and as an effective close range anti-infantry squad for fighting pioneers and grenadiers and forests. A very good multi-role unit, comes with a half track. You can get some more Gears in a 50 cal half track, or command leaders I should really say, and then you got some machine gun squads. They got 2 Brownings and then 5A1 half track. So as you may guess, the real gimmick in B phase is use Sapeurs to get in close, use them for the AT capability, and you keep the Gear machine gun teams in the back, pound an array with their M1919s. Tanks is very basic, but you get a lot of veterancy, and you get a lot in terms of availability. A phase, you got some M3 Stuart command tanks, or some standard M5 Stuarts. You can get them in packs of 4. The other command M3s are significantly cheaper, and they do have the star veterancy. B phase and to C phase, it's Shermans. It's just Shermans. You got some M4A2 Sherman command tanks and some regular M4A2s. They don't have the full 11 armor. It's only 10 armor, but the gun still is pretty decent. They're all mid-range Sherman tanks. Or you can get some highly vetted M4A2s if you think 5 is too many. Yen, you can get some 76mm Shermans, which are your anti-tank, tank-busting Shermans. They're pretty good. Just low in availability, even in C phase, you can only ever get them in packs of 1, but they do have the veterancy to boot. C phase, you get some M4A3 Shermans, which are your standard 11 armor penetration value. They're still just your standard Shermans. And then you got some 76mm Shermans as well. Very basic, it's just Shermans for days, but you get good veterancy, and you get a decent selection. And depending, do you want a lot of Shermans, or you just want a few highly vetted Shermans? It's all down to you. Support, you got a lot of options too. You got a command car. It's just a command car. It doesn't even have a machine gun, but it's a 20-point leader unit, which is a pretty decent price if you just want the veterancy and nothing else. Some flamethrower guys. Flamethrowers are a bit better now because they have smoke grenades, but they're still a very weak unit. If you are going to use flamethrowers, never use them alone. Have another infantry unit nearby to support him. And you got some cheaper 50 cals. I don't exactly think entirely useful because you already have a lot of 50 cal units to begin with. You can get an A phase or 2A phase supply trucks, or you can rate later on in B phase again. A Carter pack too, which is better bang for your buck. And also very interestingly, you can get a Greyhound in A phase. It's significantly cheaper than the recon version, 25 points I believe. But you do lose the veterancy and you do lose the recon optics, but you still maintain the speed and the firepower that the Greyhound gives you. So a pretty worthwhile trade-off. And you get them in packs of 3, which is a nice deal. And you can get some M8 Scorch for some cheap fire support. B phase, you got some M20 commands for, well, commanding. And then some M4 Shermans with 105mm cannons. You can, well, howitzers, I should really say. You can get some in B or a lot into C. Anti-tank is pretty basic. You got bazookas. Yeah, bazookas. Then you got some 6-pounder guns. You can either get them in jeeps or you can get them with a half-track. There's no actual availability difference. It's just the price that is the big difference. What's very interesting, though, that makes this deck really good, is the ability not just to get one, but 2 M10 Wolverines in A phase. They're cheap. They're 125 points, 5 points cheaper than your regular Wolverines in other decks. But what makes these great in A phase is, now think about it. The scary German tanks that they could possibly bring up in A phase is the Firefly, which is a pretty even engagement, but you can get 2 of these compared to 1 Firefly. Stargate Fate from 17th SS, but you can outrange the Stargate Fate, so it's not that big of a deal. And then Rindhound of all their Panzer IIIs. Once again, you can outrange the Panzer IIIs, but they may outnumber you. So the big deal is that the 1.2 kilometer range allows you to safely engage most targets, including anti-tank guns. Pack 50 mils and 37 mils, all those lighter AT guns, cannot kill you if you stay at range. Pack 40s roll, so do be a bit careful. And that's what makes these guys great, is that they can just outrange any German anti-tank, most German anti-tank weaponry during the A phase. And they have good infantry support too, with only 10 HE rounds, but they also have the 50 cal as well. So, a great choice. They're mobile, a little bit light armored, but just as long as you keep them at range, you're good to go. You got Fusilier Marines, which are 4-man bazooka squads. Yeah, pretty pathetic. Then you got some more 6-pounders. You can only ever get 6-pounders. You never get upgraded to 76mm. So, have fun with that. You can get some more Wolverines, packs of 4 in B phase, and ride you on Fusilier Marines. They even come with, same with this one too, a vehicle for 50 cal, but it's just don't. Then you can get a lot of Wolverines in C phase. Pack of 6, which is more than you will ever need, to be entirely honest. Anti-air is very basic. It's your rather standard American mechanized or armored AA selection. You got some M16s. Then you got the GMC Bofors, which are the Bofors on the back of a truck. It's a mobile Bofors. It's pretty cool. Then you can get some regular Bofors in the B phase, some more M16s, more technical Bofors, and then some M15s later on for some heavier fire support. Artillery is extremely basic. A phase, you got 60mm mortars and 81mm mortars. It really just comes down to you want long range or less, or shorter range and more firepower, essentially. B phase, you got the 100-point half-track mortar, same one as the American, but you can only get these guys in B phase compared to A. You can get off-map Sherman artillery. It's only a 155mm battery, which isn't huge. It's still enough to deal with anti-tank guns and exposed units, but not the greatest against entrenched opponents. But even then, it's still a good fire support unit after it used up its load, as it does have a 50 cal and 2 machine guns, as well as armor, and then a lot of M7 Priest for B phase to get you through. Airplanes is very interesting. You got some recon planes, and then you got Smoke Bomber, the only smoke bomber in game. It's a gimmicky unit. It's like Marmite. Some people like using smoke bombers, some people hate it. It's very self-explanatory. You drop smoke over a large area and use that smoke screen to either deny the enemy an ability to shoot at you, or to push into a town and use the smoke to attack. The one thing that I noticed for a lot of people where they don't like smoke bombers is that it's hard to justify their cost when you think you could just bring in an artillery unit like a mortar and just do the same thing with smoke. But also too, is unlike other units, you're not going to go into the after game kill screen and be like, oh, my smoke bomber managed to pay itself off. It can't, well, it can kill a plane, it does have a 50 cal in the back, but it probably won't kill anything unless you can smoke a Panzer Grenadier dude to death. So it really just comes down to personal preference. I like using them personally because it's a fun unit. You can get some Interceptor Spitfires during A and B, some Rocketeer P-38 Lightnings, or just a single highly vetted run if you so desire, and some Bomber Spitfires, which are rather slow and sluggish, but they drop a pretty good payload for the price. And then a Heavy Bomber DB-73, which has a pretty good payload, and you can get more of them in sea phase. You can also get more Spitfires with some veterancy to help you with your air troubles during later on, and then a P-38 Lightning Heavy Bomber. It really comes down to, do you want a DB-73 that drops 4 to 30 kilograms, or P-38 Lightning that drops to 450 kilograms. It's really down to you. I personally like using the Lightning slightly more, as it is a bit faster, and it has the veterancy to boot, which helps when it gets shot at. But it is down to personal preference. So let's take a look at a deck that I built earlier. Now, as per usual, with every single deck, this is the personal deck I use. It's all down to subjective. Some people may like it, some people may not. Feel free to change anything that you like of this deck, but I'm going to explain why I am using this deck as is. And when we go into the actual replay, you're going to see Tigga's deck, which is going to be a dude we're focusing on, is completely different. So you can really change this deck up to whatever you want. But in general, what I was trying to go for this deck is an okay A phase, enough to get you through, but still have some units later on in B and C to help you when times get tough. Straight phase, we've got some 2-man squads, recon squads, and then quite a few M8 Greyhounds. Some people like using a 2-star run. I don't feel that ballsy, and I want to be able to rest assured that if I lose a Greyhound, it's not a huge kick in the balls. So I just take the 1-star versions, and then just some more recon and B. They got Scout Car, which is a 50 cal, which is pretty nice. Infantry is very lackluster, and I got the command unit just for, well, the command, and just having the bazooka alone is the main reason why I take the command voter gears. 50 cals, you do get less of them, of course, but I just find the 50 cals firepower to be so much better in the Browning, because it has range and it has better high explosive power. Yeah, Nreve, really just Nreve. I got 4 mainline infantry units to hold me through A phase. I have to be very careful using Nreve, you can't just rush them in, but if you manage to keep the half-track supporting them, they will do a damn good job. Just at longer range against Feldjägers and against, you know, if they bring up Pioneers or other close-range units, you will have a bit of a harder time. But against Panzergrenadiers and other Grenadiers, it's a rather even fight. You do have the veterancy to boot. And in B phase, get a lot of Sappers because I just want a lot of infantry to get me through, and the Sappers are nice all-rounders. They got the anti-tank and they got the satchel charges, and then some Voltigare machine gunners for machine gun support. Tanks, we got just command M3s and A's. If you're feeling you want some more tanks and A, you can get some M5 Sturge, but because I already have so many Greyhounds, and some more Greyhounds later on, I think the command is just fine. B phase, we got some regular command M4A2s, and then some 2-star M4A2s, because I just prefer to have the veterancy. I don't feel like I'm ever going to need 5 M4A2 Shermans if I'm losing that many and I'm not doing good to begin with. And then some B phase 76mm Shermans to get me through, give me some good anti-tank support, and then a single C phase run. You can really change it up if you just want to rate a little bit later on to get the C phase 76, but because as you see later on in anti-tank, I don't have any B phase Wolverines, I'm just gonna stick with the B phase Shermans to get me through. Support, we've got some regular Greyhounds to add more Greyhounds to the Greyhound fire. Good for flanking, good fire support. You could use M8 Scots, but I prefer the M8 because it does have an anti-tank capability, at least, and I just find even a single 50 cal with a 1 HE gun is more than enough to easily stun machine gun squads. And then really just on the B phase, some command M20s, not entirely necessary because we already have some command tanks, but it's really just down to you. Some supply trucks, and then some support M4 Shermans, because they're good. They will blow a hole in lots of buildings. Anti-tank, you got just some 6-pounders to get you free, and then both M10s. I recommend in every single French tank, every single French deck, you have 2 M10s, because M10s are damn good. Then some more 6-pounders and B-phase, just for some more static anti-tank guns, so they don't lose too much effectiveness. Stugs and Panther 4s will still die, but the heavier tanks, you will have a harder time. And then C-phase, a lot of M10s. You could argue that the C-phase M10 card's pretty useless, because you shouldn't be needing 6 M10s in C, but I just like it. You can choose the B-phase ones if you just want some extra fire support, and then if you do that, you can probably switch out the 76 Shermans, but I like to mass a lot of Wolverines in C and try to use them to flank around, you know, use one as bait and another one to attack. And yeah, just some Bofors on a truck. It's not a lot, but it's just enough to get you through. They're mobile, they have veterancy, and it's a Bofors. Artillery is also basic. 60mm mortars to get you through A-phase. I don't have an A-phase supply truck, so it's a little bit risky. You may want to get an A-phase supply truck, but I usually just rather rate 1 or 2 minutes of not being able to shoot than having to spend a whole card on getting a rather useless supply truck once it gets into B-phase, in terms of cost effectiveness. And some mortars into B, because they got some good smoke abilities, and it's just a very nice mortar piece. And then some M7 Priests. I like a lot of artillery. You could really just get a ray of one card of M7 Priests, but I like artillery. I like it a lot. And airplanes, this could be very debatable. I like smoke bombers. I find them pretty useful and gimmicky, especially in team matches. If you can coordinate with your friends, you can have a damn good time. Some A-phase Spitfires. If you feel like you need some more, you can get some in B, or you could really rate and get some C-phase versions. P-38 Lightning's really just my mix between having a interceptor plane and a fire support plane, because you don't have that many slots to begin with, so having a mixed role fighter isn't a bad idea. And then a bomber P-38 for nuking King Tigers when I have nothing else. So overall, the pros of this deck, you have high veterancy all around, which is pretty damn nice. Of course, you have a very powerful A-phase, very powerful early on, essentially. Yeah, that's what this entire deck is about. And it's very specific, but the M10s in A-phase are amazing. Really bloody good. You can do a lot of damage with them when the Germans don't have a long-range fire support, yet they get in the B-phase. And the cons, of course, are very obvious. You get a low availability for infantry. It's always going to be a rather tough decision picking out your infantry slots. As the French, you just have to play conservatively with their infantry usage. Reek C-phase and... well, B-phase isn't too bad, but once you get later on in some of these German decks, other German tank decks, if you're fighting them, they do gain quite a bit more momentum and better units to counter your units. And also your highest armor penetration weapon is 13, which is not a lot. It's enough to deal with Stugs and Panther 4s, but Yak Panthers, King Tigers, and the later model Panthers with 14 armor are going to be a pain in the butt. So before we take a look at the replay, I just want to take a look at Tigga's deck. We get a bit more into it once we get into the replay, but as you can see, very different. Using Pioneers, using less Nrave, using 2-star Greyhounds and some M3 Stuarts. Of course he's using 2 M10s and A because it's very important. Some more AA, less artillery, lots of interceptors. His deck is more suited for 1v1s, while I've kind of built my deck as a general all-rounder. As you can see, does not have many C-phase units to pick from, but that's because it's very focused on pushing early, getting high veterancy units, and just kicking a lot of butt. So without further ado, let's get a look into the replay. And this is the replay, of course. This is Tigga playing as the second French armor. He isn't in the replay personally to me, which I do appreciate. And he's fighting against Corbo as the third Tigga. It's a 1v1 ranked match, so rather standard stuff. And he's playing on Carpiet. Carpiet's a very interesting map. very open left side for a very closed right side. In the open, in A phase, he's going to have a good time because Wolverines, of course. In the town whatsoever, it's going to be a little bit tougher. He does have Pioneers, and it's going to be down to him using them effectively to fight Feldjägers. And Feldjägers will beat him in open ground engagement. But at close range, with Pioneers, he will have a better job. And point rise, he does have quite a bit of a point advantage against Corbo. But once he gets into C phase, which he needs to not, go into C phase on a bad foot, it does go pretty terrible. Especially with all the airplanes the third Feldjäger can get. But as we saw with Tigga's deck, he does have a lot of Spitfires, he has a bit more AA to deal with the crazy amount of planes that Corbo can get into C phase. So if we just take a look at his composition, sending machine gun, recon to left, recon slap bang in the middle to lock into the airfield, machine gun, Bofors, sure, onto his air hangar side. And on the right hand side, not too much, just a Jeep MMG, and Pioneers in the middle of the town. And Pioneers are very important. He's using them perfectly, trying to get into the ambush. They aren't close enough. Feldjäger's moving up, and they're gonna get a little bit too close. And I want to note he does have the carbines turned off for it to 200 meters, so he only ever engage at 100. And heck, you don't even need the carbines to begin with. The flamethrowers are the only weapon that you need turned on for flamethrower units. And as you can see, 3-star Feldjäger unit is going to run away due to the flames. And that's what's going to be very important for Tigga to do. But you also got to realize, Tigga isn't playing 101st Airborne deck. He doesn't get 7 AB engineers with star veterancy and 10 to 11 men in their squad. He's a 6 guys, no veterancy, and he only ever gets 3 of them. So keeping them alive is super important because are his main trump card in fighting against the third Feldjäger, because those Feldjägers against Feldjägers, even against Genreve, they will have an easy time. So really Tigga, he just has a nice simple +1 point advantage, and it's going to be very important to keep on to the +1 point advantage throughout the entirety of A phase, as he needs to put on the pressure. Preferably he can get a ×2 point advantage, because you just need to gain as much of a point buffer, so once you get into C phase you have a lot of points to fall back on. But he's not pushing too hard, he's just going to hold onto his side of the town, use the Pioneers to deter any further incursions away Feldjägers, and he's going to bring in some mortars, some command M3s, and just going to be holding on to the left hand side, though he does have a lot of ground, a bit more ground and past the middle ground, so that's definitely helping with his map control. As Corbo sends in some reinforcements, he only has those Panzer L6s, which aren't too bad. They're still a pretty decent tank, but considering that Tigga can get some pretty proper tanks during A phase, it's not going to be too great for those Panzer L6s. It's not like you're fighting against 101st and they only have M22 Locusts. They're going to be using mortars and knock out the anti-tank guns. And the Feldjägers getting some good hits on these vehicles, as they are only lightly armoured Joe's WC-52s. The mortar going to be forcing the Feldjäger out of the town, just being pretty defensive, not wanting to rush in. Doesn't have really any smoke cover, and it is a lot of third Feldjägers, and you just need to be conservative with your units. And here comes the Wolverine, and the Wolverine against third Feldjäger is going to work wonders. They don't get an A phase unit that can reach past 1.2 kilometers in terms of the anti-tank department, so Wolverine pops the Panzer, and heck, he could even pop the Pak 41 because it only has a kilometer range and only 8 AP compared to 8 armor. That's pretty favourable to the Wolverine. We've got a mortar here from Corbo to probably do some counter artillery work, and the Nreve from Tigga. He only has 2 Nreve in his deck, so he's already using half of them up. Not going to work in an open ground engagement by himself, but with the 50 cal half track, they can turn the tides a bit at least. 50 cal, as you can see, doing a damn good job. 50 cal is very powerful. until you get very close in by 3rd Fouchagers. Yeah, and you're not doing good. But as you can see, that's like bang in the open. He has open advantage with all his tanks and other fire support vehicles. And here comes a B-Run. And the B-Run can barely pen the Wolverine. Of course, it is an open top vehicle, which doesn't do himself any favours. But he's going to be forced to retreat. Didn't get the kill though. And Tigger's going to bring in one of his Spitfires. And bringing in the Spitfires against the 3rd Fouchagers, which I'm guessing his dig may have been slightly favoured against 3rd Fouch, because he does have a lot of those spits for getting air superiority, especially later on when they can get a stupid amount of planes. But he's going to be chasing that B1. Messerschmitt hot on his Telio, and the Spitfire is forced to retreat. They're nothing great, the Spitfire, especially against those Messerschmitt 109s, which do have the high veterancy bonus. But it's better than having no interceptor. And really, Corbo's is going to be holding on to his area of the town, just using his Fouchagers to stop anything from crossing no man's land. As Tigga does use his fire support to pound away at the Spar Trooping. And the Fouchagers are pretty caught in the open over here, as you can see. And it just got grazed there by M5, but did quite a bit of damage. And that's going to give very nice map control to Tigga. And playing over in the airfield is his best move, because on this map, against any division, fighting over the airfield gives you the most bang for your buck. Because you don't usually have that many units tightly enclosed. It's usually maybe just one unit here and there. So if you do kill it, you gain a huge amount of map control. And map control is the name of the game for Tigga. As you can see right now, he's just past the 58% threshold. So he is gaining that plus 2 point advantage. And he is moving up some voter gears into his hangar area just to try and hold on. And he's pushing hard, using his, A phase or now B phase advantage to his favour. And you do just need to push hard as the 2nd French armoured. Even got some Reves back here. And Wolverines are all the way back. Just hanging on. Or chilling out, I guess. And Corbo can now start bringing out Fouchager piles, which are a damn good unit, considering that Tigga is not going to have many infantry reinforcements. And that's going to be his main problem, because from now on, he will not get any new infantry. While Corbo, he has a lot of further Fouchagers. A lot of Omor Fouchagers and other such units. And as you can see, Corbo's entire force in that town area has been cut off due to that M5 flanking around. And Tigga, he's just getting that nice plus 2 point advantage. Gaining that huge point buffer that he needs to win, because once it gets into C phase, he's just going to have to hold on to dear life, as he does run out of a lot of steam and a lot of units. And the voter gears aren't going to do great holding on. They're pretty crap. It's really just a delaying tactic, as the Pioneers do shroop them up, and there's no fire support to help them out. So they're going to get rather killed. And Tigga moving through with what seems to be another sapper squad. Just going to be holding it into the town. And the M5 doesn't manage to get a radio. Tigga's, he did get pushed back from his initial aggression, but he still has map control, which is an important part. He has a huge part of map control over here, just because, like I said, you get a lot of bang for your buck, good real estate value. This is nice open farmland that's ready to be exploited and built on, like SimCity. And as long as he keeps that map advantage throughout the match. Of course, every deck you want to have map control. But especially for Tigga, because you just do lose in that map control later on. And he's moving up the Panzer L6s, which there's proper tanks here, so they're not going to do too great. And as you can see, all the fire support, 50 cals from the M10, Sherman with a support gun. Those Pioneers cannot engage effectively in the open. We do have an 88mm gun here from Corbo, which is a damn good anti-tank gun. I mean, even just a pack Like, bloody hell, Pack 40 can kill every single French unit easily. It's no contest. And Corbeau is trying to move through to try and gain control of the rest of the town, do a bit of aggression here, but Tigga does have the Pioneers, and they are in really good spots. This is great use of flamethrower units. Especially considering, once again, he doesn't have much. He only has 3 squads, and they're worse than AB engineers. But just by keeping them in these choke points, you know, forcing Kerbo to come in with his Pioneers and whatnot, there he is starting to pound away slowly and Tigga's Pioneers in that little town section as the building is just exposed through that gap. So Tigga is just going to pull them back a little bit. As you can see, Corbeau's now starting to get his superiority, of course. He is playing third Fouch. Those Messerschmitts are going to fly around freely. You do have not 1, not 2, but 3 Beauforts in the mid from Tigga. It seems pretty silly having them all close together, but it's at a pretty small map. It's only like, what, 2,004, like 3,000, not bloody hell, like 2 kilometers in length, I want to say. So having them in the middle, they're going to be able to cover the most ground. And they're Beauforts. Beauforts are great. And Tigga is using off-map artillery, the off-map Sherman. I'm still personally not a big fan of it, but against more open infantry and static emplacements, they do a good job. And Corbeau's slowly starting to push back on the left-hand side because there wasn't really much here from Tigga, so even just a few Fouchaker Pioneers is all you need to break through. Then what seems like a Spitfire is trying to go for a landing. And even though Tigga is getting pushed back slightly now, he still has map control. He's still getting that +1 point advantage. And he's forcing Corbeau. It's a Soto over here. It's going very poorly for him. Just good use of Pioneers. I mean, they're a bit more of a gimmick unit. Hard to use, but just really commendable job. If these Pioneers weren't here, Corbeau could have easily pushed into his side of the town. Very easily. Even against Nreve or Sappers, I still would give it to Corbeau with his Fouchakers. Even Tigga's doing some strafing runs with Spitfire. A little bit dangerous considering there's some Messerschmitt 109s on the field. And Spitfires are going to be fighting around too. But with the Beauforts in such an advantageous position, they can pretty much cover the majority of the map. Those Messerschmitts aren't going to be able to do too much damage against the Spitfires. And the 88mm has been completely destroyed, as you can see, because it's right in the open. And Corbeau is now into C phase. This is where he can start getting a ridiculous amount of planes, but the other thing for Corbeau, maybe some, you can't really get tanks for the third Fouch. You can get Stugs, but the Stugs aren't going to do well in open ground engagements against Wolverines or 76mm Shermans. And fighting over the town is proven to be rather costly now. And at this point, Tigga just has such a huge point advantage because he managed to keep onto that point advantage for the entirety of the match and just keep on the pressure. So even though Corbeau can get all of these planes, he just doesn't have the ground game to really take advantage of it. And Tigga's been pretty conservative with his units. He's not attacking right now, as you may notice. Which is, he doesn't need to attack. He has point advantage. He doesn't need to get more ground. He can easily just sit back, enjoy the view, not risk losing his units in an offensive maneuver, but just keep him back because he does not get many reinforcements in C phase. Once you hit B phase, that's really the peak that you're gonna get as the second French armored division. Everything down on, it's just a downhill slope from the end on out. But yeah, it's very boring as we're seeing, but he managed to gain the early gap map control, and now he's just reaping a reward. We've got some Flak 88s, and you can see ridiculous amount of planes here from Corbeau. An absolute ridiculous amount. We've got some bombing runs here from some Spitfires. And the Flak 88s getting hurt up quite a bit. And some Sappers fighting the Pioneers on the left with, of course, half-track support, which is going to help a lot. And you know, third Fouch, you don't really get many support units. Well, you do get the LG40s, but you get a lot of jeeps, a lot of other cars with 50 cals, and a lot of half tracks, which makes up for the lack of infantry yet you have as the French division. And Tigga just doesn't have much map control. He's bringing a lot, or Corbeau has much map control. He has 88mm guns, but they're just getting picked off, as you can see, because this M4 Sherman has 1.2 kilometer range and a lot of HE power. Or M4A3 Sherman. And Wolverine gonna be coming in. Stug just getting completely annihilated. And they just managed to keep all his units alive. And just in such a big force that, you know, Corbeau, if he wants to push through, which he couldn't be able to, needs to mass such a big force. By that time, it's a little bit too late. So, as you can see, Tigga did take the victory there. And as you can show, he just did a good early game aggression, took advantage of the real estate advantage that the airfield gives you, and managed to hold on to the town with just a few pioneers, which, I've pretty much said this like multiple times already, it is very difficult to use, and that's really a problem with the French stack, is difficult to use the infantry. But I think the main thing I'm trying to show in this replay is that you push hard in A and B, and then you hold. You stay your ground, you don't do any more maneuvering apart from that, and hopefully with your A and B attacks you manage to gain a lot of ground, so when you are forced to fall back, you still have map control. Then you just hold on, sit back, enjoy the ride, and just do your best in a defensive maneuvers. But good play here from Tigga, and really that is the second French armoured division. A very interesting division. They're pretty different from other decks, or a lot of decks are very different from other decks, but just by how ballsy they are in A phase, and even with the French or the Polish division, you end up getting Achilles, you end up getting Fireflies and other heavy fire support to help you through into C phase. But French, not so much. Really, it is once you get to B, it's just actual midlife crisis from then on out. And I'm going to stop rambling and leave it at, yeah, I hope this video has taught you a few cool things about 2nd French Armour Division. And as usual, please just take it easy.